So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Swerve with me. This is a show where we have adult conversations for mature audiences only. We talk to people who have overcome challenges and they're not afraid to show their scars or to speak their truth. We talk to people who want to share their stories with others so that they can be moved to a place of perfection in their own lives. And so, I'm going to give you a little chime to come in, but as we come in, we usually tell you to go ahead and tag somebody because listen, tonight is going to be a very different kind of show because we're tackling a subject that is usually taboo to others. It's taboo. People don't really like to talk about it. They are uncomfortable about it, but it's a necessary conversation for men and women. So, those of you who are married, if you can get your husband's attention, please have him tune into the show. If you have sons that are married, please have them tune into this show tonight because I believe it's going to be so very educational and important as we move along. And so I'm so delighted to have with me tonight someone who is very well versed rather in the subject. She's been in the health and wellness space for over 25 years. She's an investor. She is a menopause coach. Actually, the first person that I've ever heard branded themselves as a menopause coach. And so she definitely has something to say. She, in her bio to me, said that menopause hit her like a tsunami. So we want to talk about her journey through menopause, what she's learned, and more importantly, what she's doing now to help others as they go through the quote unquote change. So tag somebody, let them know tonight my guest is Patrice Lockhart, menopause coach, and so many other things. She's a dynamic public speaker, by the way. And so, those of you who have women's groups and men's group, you may want to consider inviting her to come in and to begin this conversation about menopause because trust me, it's never too early to have this conversation among young men and women to prepare them for what is the inevitability of life. We can't escape it as long as we live long enough. We are going to experience menopause. And so, help me welcome to the platform for the first time tonight, Patrice Lockhart. Good evening. Okay, here we go.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you. So, listen, let's
Thank
jump right in.
Yes.
Let's jump right in. You said menopause hit you like a tsunami. When we
Hmm.
think about a tsunami, we think about this incredible rush of water and force coming in and just sweeping over an
Yes.
island or whatever that is. So, first of all, what indicators did you have that perhaps there was something different going on in your body, even though you didn't know what it was at the time?
Hmm. Mine began with me putting on unexplained weight and not being able to sleep. I was dealing with sleep issue for about a year. Then I went into 6 weeks of sleeping for an hour and under an hour. And by the time it got to these 6 weeks, it was crazy. When I shut my eyes at this point, it was like a black and white TV screen. I don't know if you remember the old TV screen with the fuzzy lines.
Yes, I
And
do.
so
Mhm.
it was like a black and white fuzzy line. Then I would have like bits and pieces of movies. Then the black and white fuzzy line, bits and pieces. Every time I closed my eyes, at this point for those 6 weeks, I had under an hour to under an hour of sleep. Then it went into day, then night, then
Wow.
day, then night, then day, then night.
So it
I
was
did not take a
excessive
wink.
periods of sleeping, just out
I
of the
was
norm.
I was a wreck. And at this point, I'd been to doctors, went to doctors, and no one was able to tell me at this point what was going on. During this time also, I was under a lot of I was dealing with rejection, and it was very stressful, and stress triggers a menopause. And it
Oh,
got
wait, wait. Don't move so fast because I
Mhm.
didn't know that stress triggers
Oh,
menopause.
stress triggers menopause. In fact, you have women, um, so many women will tell you on in the workplace, where their hot flashes, heart palpitations come on under pressure and stress at work. I have a lady in my one of my a group that I mentor of menopausal women. She had a meltdown at work. She literally had a meltdown at work. She was telling her boss, she was going through some stuff was going on, hormonal. And she said her boss did not understand, and her boss would just be at her and at. And she said she would just grab the chair, and she said the tears would roll as her boss would be just at her and at her, until there was a point. She said her heart started racing. She started sweating. I mean, everything came down. She had a crazy meltdown um, at the office. And at this point, it was too late. Um, everybody got to see it, etc. But what she
She
was
even
going through,
understand what was happening at the time.
yes, she did. She understood. In fact, she shared with me how the colleague was fussing had was it became kind of, I guess, out of hand, not out of hand, but crazy, the scene, saying you guys caused this. She told you she had a hormonal balance, she told you, but you wouldn't listen. And so she ended up with a meltdown. I have another woman in my group, and by the way, I mentor a group of women. I have a Facebook group, a private community called Menopause Survival Care
Wait,
for
let me
those
type
women
that in.
who look. Okay, for those
Menopause.
women, menopause survival care. For those women who are looking for support, because as a menopause coach, I provide support, guidance, information, and tools to help women navigate the menopausal journey. I also work with organizations to help employers create an environment that also is very friendly for menopausal women, understanding that the health and safety of their employees also includes
Important.
support and services for menopausal women. But that when my menopause, like I said, my menopause, I literally stress brought it on. And it got so bad with the where I was sleeping that a family member had to take me out of my home, and she nursed me for 2 weeks. And when I say menopause hit me like a tsunami, I didn't know. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know anything but men. The only thing I knew about menopause was that I had worked in an organization. There were two ladies who were dealing with menopause. One, she was always hot to sweat. I mean, you always have to turn the air conditioner up, and it was always up, and she was the only one hot. And so we laughed at her about our personal summers. Now,
Right, right.
the other lady, she was fine. She went through menopause. And so my thing was, listen here, whatever you have, I'm not gonna have. But in the name of Jesus, I rebuke that. I am going to be like this other lady. She didn't have any symptoms. She was fine. So as far as I was concerned, that's what was gonna happen to me. So I decreed and declared it. And as far as I was concerned, that was so. I didn't
Now,
understand.
in your case, do you in your case do you believe the menopause was triggered by stress or was just a natural progression for you?
It's triggered by menopause is triggered by stress. It is a
No, I mean
natural progression.
in your personal
In
case.
my case, it was triggered. It was triggered because my body had started the process. and and because I started putting on weight, and I didn't understand what was going on. And that's one of the signs, this unexplained weight. Now, menopause, when it first begins, it has actually three stages of menopause. It's the perimenopause stage. The perimenopause stage is 8 to 10 years before a woman actually stops bleeding. This begins average age around 40, but it's around 45 that the symptoms really, like when women are having a baby, say it gets hot. It's That's
Mm-hmm.
when women are awake to, oh, something's going on. But at 40 is when changes start to happen, and usually women don't recognize the change. Like I said, well, one of the things that happens is a woman's period begins to change. Like for me, I remember I had my period was 3 days all my life. Then all of a sudden it started to change. Um, and it's at the beginning of the month, it's at the middle of the month, the end of the month. And so what happens is these subtle changes. You're seeing your period at the beginning of the month all your life. Then all of a sudden it's at the end. It's just a subtle change. And women don't realize that you have begun perimenopause. And this stage, as girls, when we were born, we came into this world with eggs. I call it a basket of eggs. And during perimenopause, you were using up the last of those eggs. And so, while you're doing this, the body is beginning the process of shutting down reproduction. Menopause is actually the opposite of puberty. When we were girls and we were going into puberty, you remember we started to have breasts, hair under our arms, pubic hair. We begin to menstruate. That was the body getting ready for reproduction. Menopause is the opposite of that. It's the body shutting down from reproduction.
So,
Men-
pause one moment. If you're just joining me, I'm talking to Patrice Lockhart. She's a menopause coach. And as you come in, tag a sister or brother because
yes,
the information that she's going to share today is really going to be helpful to men and women because it's going to help men understand what the women in their lives may be
yes,
going through
absolutely.
right now or
Mm-hmm.
about to go through. So, that's important that men get on board. And then for your sisters, whether you're in perimenopause at the moment or you are about to approach it, you're going to get some pertinent information tonight that's
Yes.
going to help you through the process. So please go ahead and tag somebody. So you talked about basically sleepless nights. I mean, just uncomfortable and not being able to get enough sleep. And so, of course,
Mm.
that would have impacted you during your daily work. Did you become irritable during the day because of not having enough sleep? Let's talk a little bit more about your journey.
During that time, irritable wasn't the issue for me. I was dealing with confusion because I also was in the corporate world. And I I worked along with men. I was one of two women, and everybody else were men. And I remember I had an incident. I wasn't sleeping. So it wasn't the thing about menopause is that not only is it a taboo, it's worse if are working with men. How do you explain what's going on? And so dealing with my sleep issues, I remember my boss was at the front of a meeting. We were at having a corporate meeting. My boss is at the front doing a presentation. I'm at the back. And obviously, I'm nodding. I fell asleep. And my boss yells from the front of the room, Patrice, stop sleeping. The entire boardroom turns around and looks at me.
Yeah.
It was exceptionally humiliating. And I often share the story, and it's one where not just it was just all male, but we had men from all over. And, we had foreigners there who already didn't think much of Bahamians. And I'm being honest. And I had to deal with that. And I then had to go to him and say to him, look, I'm not sleeping. Something's wrong. I'm not sleeping. And I had to share what was going on. And the only thing that saved me was the fact that his wife was dealing with a similar situation. And they
Okay.
said she was suffering from anxiety. That's the only thing that saved me because, you know, in the corporate world, it's like do or die. You know, you perform, keep your problems and your troubles home. You're in the corporate world, you need to perform. And I had an incident, even it got so bad I was in the hospital during the I got off like that Friday. I was in the hospital. It was a holiday weekend, so I spent that whole time in the hospital. Came up Monday evening. Tuesday morning I had to be to work, and nobody knew. Going through this menopause, not being able to, I nobody was able to tell me what was going on. And that began the menopausal journey for me.
Okay. So, what was the most traumatic um, period for you in your journey? Because in doing the research for this show and talking to other women, their stories varied. So I let me hear what you have to say, and then I'll share some of the things that I heard.
I've had my whole journey was traumatic. And
Wow.
it wasn't until my 8th year that I learned what was going on. But there was two times. The time that I stopped sleeping because I was confused. I didn't know what was going on. No one had answers for me. The family member who had taken me in worked at the RAN in the lab. And when I stopped sleeping, I remember her. She looked in my eyes and she said, Patrice, do you understand what's going to happen if you don't sleep? Um, and she was saying, your organs are going to start shutting down. And at this point, when I say I was a wreck, believe me, I was a wreck. When you don't sleep, your brain, you don't get to go into the fourth realm of sleep. So your brain don't produce the melatonin. There's a lot of things that happen. Dealing with that, at the same time dealing with the highest level of rejection, it just, that was, if people didn't intervene, I would not be here today.
When you say people, what do you mean? The medical
Not
professions,
even
family,
medical, no, because
friends, what?
medical, it was friends, it was family member and another family member, two members, literally, because I was lost. And I don't, for those of you who don't know what it is not to sleep, you don't function right anymore. And you don't know what is going on. You can't explain what's going on. That was the rough time. And the other time, I had come to Nassau. I relocated to Nassau and I started having the heart palpitations. Again, I didn't know what was going on. The heart palpitations used to be so horrible and so loud in the nights. And it used to make me very weak. And sometimes I would have breathing problems. And in the nights when I couldn't sleep, I would just be up and it would just be me and God. And the heart would be going crazy. Sometimes my heart would beat so loud, so hard, and so strong. Then it would just slow down, and you'd wait and wait and wait, and then it would do burlaps. It just was, and in those moments, there's no one who can help you. And it got a doctor ended up coming to the house between 5 and 6 one morning, and they had suspected that I had a heart attack.
Mm.
And those two times were dark, were very dark for me. Um, and only God brought me through. Those were the two difficult times. Um,
How long did the sleeplessness last for you? Was it just like over a period of a few weeks or months? Like, how long
uh,
did it last?
the the sleeplessness, initially it was about a year, going into a year dealing with the sleeplessness. Then it turned into the 6 weeks of under an hour, then the 3 days and 3 nights of no sleep. And after going through a lot of stuff, ended up on sleeping pills, addicted. At one point I was very addicted.
Mm,
um, then when I came to Nassau, again dealing with the stress issue triggering it, I went into not sleeping again. And then the not sleeping brought on the heart palpitations. That lasted co- um, about 3 years.
years
Yeah,
of
my
consistently, or like it will die down for a couple of months or something and then happen again?
consistently. I have photos where I look, I was doing a interview at ZNS for about 4 years. And every time I look at it, I see the bags were so huge under my eye. People didn't know I didn't even sleep, or I got an hour or two that night.
Mhm.
And because I didn't understand what was going on, I understood it was only when I got into my 8th year of perimenopause. I thought this night I was having such horrible palpitations.
Mhm.
I called a girlfriend of mine. It's between 2 and 3 in the morning, and I woke her up, and she was so sweet. She said to me, Patrice, I don't. When I talked to her, what was going on, Patrice, I don't know why you don't accept the fact that you're perimenopausal. And when she said it, I had just been online, trying to figure out what was going on, and everything just said that I was perimenopausal, and I finally accepted it because
So
again,
when once you accepted it, what did that feel like? Was it like a sigh of relief, or what was happening with you?
it then gave me a solution because I was already in the natural health field, and so then I knew where to go and what to do. And I always say, because with God's help, I became my own rescue, because at this time I'd been to doctors, they'd done the EKG, asked them what's wrong with me. They don't know. One doctor said to me, one doctor wanted to put me on antidepressant. He said it happens to women that can't sleep. His mommy the same way. One told me he don't know. Um, you know, that leaves you in a crazy place.
Yeah.
So I had to become, with the help of God, my own rescue. And once I learned that, I remember, because the heart palpitations were frightening. I have a lady who's a part of my mentoring group, and she said something that reminded me. She said I would turn on the television so that I can't hear my heart. And then when I have to turn off the television, I turn on the fan because it would be loud. And I remember that, the frightening sound of the heart. So you don't want to hear it. You do what you can not to hear the sound so you could drown it out.
Mm.
Um, when I That was the first thing I needed to deal with. And I learned that potassium regulates the heart. And so what I did, I remember I would get up. I would eat loads of bananas. I would 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You could find me eating 4, 5, 6, 7 bananas.
Oh.
And as sure as the sun rises and sets, the heart would regulate. That blew me away. After dealing with all of the EKGs and them doing tests and waiting for tests to see if I had a
Mhm.
heart attack, um, what was the effect on my heart and all that kind of thing. to find out, wow, all I needed was potassium. I've been able to share simple things like this to women. One woman was saying, "Thank God for me." She said, my heart stopped beating after all these years with that craziness. It regulates. I I then kept on going deeper, and I actually went deeper because a friend of mine, I shared what was going on, and he said to me, "Patrice, why don't you ask the ladies? We all went to school together, and we had a chat. And at this time, we had about 50, 60, 70, no, about more than 50, about 70 women in this group. And so I decided to be transparent because I needed to understand more about this menopause thing. So I told them what was going on with me, and I asked them if anybody has anything happening to them. That day, our chat blew up like crazy.
Wow.
And about 50 women shared their story. And mind you, while it was good to hear that, okay, I'm not going crazy and I'm not going to die of some sickness,
Hmm.
I was like, so if this is normal, why aren't women talking about it? Why didn't the older women prepare us? I mean, if you heard the stories, I heard marriage stories. I heard stories of what women were going through, similar to me. And I was like, it really left me confused
Hmm.
because I didn't
So let me
understand.
ask you this. Um, the symptoms that you experience in terms of the excessive sleepless nights and the heart palpitations, are they the extremities or are they normalities for many women, or that's the extreme end of what perimenopausal experience could be for some people?
There are there's so many symptoms, and the thing about severe symptoms is that menopause looks different on every woman. There
Right.
are 35 symptoms that women experience, and
Do you have
going
the
through.
list? Do you have a list like with you
Yes,
right now?
yes, because I
Now
wanted to.
let's go through some of them at least so people can hear to be able they may be able to
Okay.
identify something.
Okay, just allow me. What I want to do is to pull up is okay. What I
Because
want to
we're
do.
familiar, most of us are familiar with the hot flashes and the night
See, yeah,
sweats and
that's
the
it.
excessive breathing
Everybody.
and bleeding and things like that. Those are the I would say the common symptoms that
Yes,
most of us
those
are
are the
familiar
common.
with.
Yes, those are the common symptoms that most women deal with or know about. Now, I'm looking for where I can share. I
But
see it.
just read the list if you don't have. Just read it.
Okay, I
Just go
can.
ahead.
I'm
Yeah.
going to share my screen right now. Okay, share.
Okay.
Can
I
you
don't see.
see my screen at the moment?
No.
Okay. The common symptoms that women deal with are the hot flashes and the night sweats. Not only do they deal with the hot flashes and the night sweats, but they deal with fatigue. They deal with dizziness. They deal with loss of libido. So many women have no sex drive anymore. And that's because of the decline of the estrogen, mood swings, irritability, hair loss,
See if I
weight
can
gain.
find your screen. Okay. No. Go ahead.
Are you
I was just
are,
looking for
are
your
you able
screen,
to
but I
see
didn't
it?
find it. No, I still can't find it. But go ahead.
Okay. I was trying to share, but for some reason,
Yeah.
I was
I
having a
didn't get.
problem.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Okay. Share system audio. And what happens is, again, my extremes is not necessarily the next woman's extreme. For me, it was the heart palpitations. For me, it was the sleeplessness. For me, at one point later on, it became the sweats. Everybody is different. We
What
have
about the
women.
brain fogginess? Like that
Ah,
whole brain fog thing. I know a lot of women experience that as well.
what happened? Here's what happens. Estrogen is the sex hormone that's responsible for so much of our body functions, including the brain. And when I couldn't sleep, here's what happens: the stem of a woman's brain estrogen has a lot to do with going to that area. And when estrogen is no longer, or is being diminished, or not, the quantity is not going to that area as it's been used to, a woman has problems with sleep. Then there's an area of a woman's brain called the amygdala. That's the area that's responsible for her moods. Right under that is an area called the hippocampus. That's responsible for her. We got the moods on top, then we got the forgetfulness, the memory, concentration, and focus, and all of that. All of those areas, the neurotransmitters, all of our life have been depending on the estrogen. And when
Mhm.
the neurotransmitters aren't getting the estrogen that it needs, the firing isn't happening, then that's when women get the memory fog. That's why women go into irritability. I was driving the other day, and I'm rushing to a 3 o'clock appointment, and I'm driving to my appointment, and in the middle I'm driving, and I'm like, oh God, where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? I couldn't remember for the life of me where I was going. And I had to slow down the car, and it was frustrating. And for me, my brain was like this. It was like this room, white wall. And my brain was all over trying to find the information. And what I realized was my estrogen had really declined this day really badly. And
Mhm.
I'd just gone into menopause, out of perimenopause into menopause. And menopause itself is when a woman has stopped bleeding for 12 months. On that day, you are officially in menopause
Mhm.
after 12 months of no bleeding. After that, you go into what's called post menopause. And
Mhm.
menopause itself, average age a woman goes into menopause is around 51. Now, for me, I was 53 going on 54. I was close to the 54. In a couple of weeks, I was going to turn 54. And that's when I officially, went into
To
menopause.
menopause.
Hmm.
Okay. So, in talking to some women that are still, I guess, trying to come into acceptance that
Hmm.
this is what's happening to their body and they are in the perimenopause state now.
Hmm.
One woman shared with me that to her it was like mourning a loss
Yeah.
because going into menopause for her meant that it was the end of her youth. And she's, I think she's a 50 something woman.
Hmm.
And so for her it meant it was the end of her youth, and
Yeah.
that is what made her depressed. You see,
Yeah.
just coming to that place that, wow.
Yeah. She's at the end. And you know what? It's all about, because we have not been educated and prepared for menopause. It's one of the reasons why menopause has such a taboo to it, why women are embarrassed when we talk about menopause, because it's such a private thing. We tease women. It's the old woman's thing. That's what we know.
The change of life.
The
It's the
change. And
change.
one of the things that I'm all about, menopause education, is that telling women, life has stages. Just how you went into puberty and you started reproduction, and your life existed before reproduction, right?
Mhm.
There's just a change. It means it's ended. Meno means change. And pause. Mano means month. Pause, change. And it's a month when we stop being able to reproduce. That's all it is. You finish. Your body says, okay, the eggs, we finished. The last of the eggs say, hey, we're finished. We did our job. Um, you are finished that stage of being able to carry a child, not because it's a problem, it's something's wrong with you. It's because you've the time lost allotted to women to have a child or have children has been set because the body handles that during that time best. Now, as you grow older, you don't want to be carrying a baby. And so it's a natural process. Nothing is wrong with you. There's no need to be embarrassed. And that's why I'm all about breaking this silence and this chain about the secrecy about menopause. And by the way, October, for everyone listening, October is World Menopause Month. October 18th is World Menopause Day. And one of the things that I want to do to create awareness is that I'm getting groups of women and men together. And I'm asking everybody to post something about menopause. I have a lot of things on my Facebook page, Patrice Lockhart, with regards to menopause, on Shaddai House page, menopause. And so there's menopause stuff all over. But that the October 18th, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, we're gonna invade the whole social media space, creating an awareness about menopause. Even if you just say today is World Menopause Day. Menopausal women, we celebrate you. There are so many things that we can do to change it.
So let's talk about, because some women still, because it is a sensitive and a private matter for
Mhm.
some, may not necessarily reach out for help. But both of us have heard stories about relationships that have been ruined
Affected, yeah.
as a result of people not dealing with what they've been going, not facing it, and seeking help. Let's talk about the impact that going through perimenopause or menopause can have on a relationship if you don't seek the help that you need.
Unfortunately, that is one of the things of menopause where because a woman gets testy, she gets emotional, um, because a woman she's going through so much, and so for so many of them she doesn't understand. So one of the hardest things as women talk to me about is that they don't know how to explain to their husbands what's going on. And then husbands come to me and they share with me about this woman they've been living with all their life, and she's a different creature. She's a different creature and they don't know her. And what research has shown is that 61% of women suffer anxiety during perimenopause. And this can last from months to 12 years. One report revealed that the highest level of anxiety that takes place in women, that women experience, is between 50 and 54 years of age. And it's one of the most underestimated symptom of menopause. It's when the estrogen level drops and it impacts mental health. Now, this same woman is in her marriage and she doesn't understand why she's dealing with anxiety. And I deal with these women. I coach as a menopause coach. Women book sessions with me, and I have to tell them that you're okay, and I have to explain to them it's chemical what's going on with you, physiological, and I help them to understand so that they can talk to their husbands about what is going on.
So
Um,
stick a pin right there.
mhm.
How then does this woman begin this conversation? How does she begin the because it is a difficult and challenging thing that you don't understand yourself, So how did she begin this conversation with her husband to
with a
say,
husband.
yeah? So give them some steps on how do they begin that
Okay.
conversation.
First of all, you have to be educated on menopause. Again, for those of you women, um, I have the Menopause Survival Care Group. You can reach out to me. My number is 439-3242. You can book a session with me. And I teach women about menopause. I educate them. And once they're educated, they then understand and they're able to connect the dots. That's why I'm so testy. That's why I'm so irritable. And then they're able to say, look, baby, I realize that I'm going through menopause. I've been testy. I realize I've been short tempered. I've been moody. I realize that I've been creating an environment that's not necessarily been the best for our marriage. Then some women, um, they don't want to be touched, and so when I explain to them about the decline in estrogen causing them not to have a desire for sex because estrogen and the testosterone works together to create sexual desire in a woman, then she's able to explain it and say, look, this is what's going on with me. um, I recognize that I need to do some things. I need to, and this is where I come in. I help women to understand that through diet, I put them on protocols where I put phytoestrogen back in their bodies on a daily basis. I do their exercises that I get them to do that causes the brain to once again to release endorphins and serotonins that does some triggers. Um, I have to take women through exercises, some of the women who deal with the anxiety, where we have to unpack a lot of their thoughts and we begin to put them in priority so that they can begin to cope with life, etc. So, to begin a conversation with your husband, you have to be educated. That's the first thing.
So
You
what then is the husband? How what do husbands need to know in order to help their wives through this process?
They need to understand, first of all, your wife ain't crazy. She ain't Dr. Hackle and Jai. The reason why today she okay and tomorrow she's another person is because her estrogen level today it hit. Tomorrow it hit. Next day it hit. And the estrogen, like I said, is responsible for a lot of the function of the brain. And so her body is having a difficult time even adjusting to what's going on because every day is different for the body. And so it is for the husband. And so it's in him understanding that, hey, my wife is going through something. She's not being mean or nasty intentionally. She's going through something. So, in him understanding that I'm a coach. You know your wife needs help. Book a session with me for your wife because it women say how much it helps them. It clears their head, and then I equip women with tools to help themselves. And once a husband knows and the wife knows about these tools, they together are able, excuse me, to help each other. When he sees the wife going haywire, then he realizes, okay, you know what? Today her estrogen low. She needs phytoestrogen. Coach says she needs to load up. This is what she needs to do. And I give solutions. And so that's how a husband can come alongside his wife and help his wife.
What about preparation? Is there such a thing as preparation
Oh,
for
yeah.
perimenopause? What about that? What does that look like for someone who is perhaps at the cusp of getting into perimenopause?
First of all, knowledge, knowledge, understanding what is about to happen to you. Unfortunately, in our country, that's why we have so many issues. 99% of the women enter menopause unprepared to deal with the physical experiences, the emotional changes, and the psychological changes. And these changes are real. Now, Also, I want to back up here and say that not all women deal with the severe symptoms.
Sure.
75% of women deal with night flash, hot flashes, etc., but it doesn't interfere with their life. But there's a 25% of women that have severe symptoms. And to put that in perspective, here in the Bahamas, we have over, and this is a very low number, over 3,000 women that enter menopause and perimenopause every year. So 25% is like 750 women every year dealing with severe symptoms, psychological symptoms, etc. And so going back to your question, I'm trying to bring my mind back to that. Um, Going back to the question of preparing.
Preparation. Yeah, preparation for it.
First of all, it's understanding menopause. Second of all, once you understand what your body is going to go through, there are certain things that you, again, there are some protocols that you can put in place so that, okay, when your estrogen starts to decline, okay, I know what I need to do. And again, it's protocols. And one of the things I'm going to be doing is having more seminars and sessions for not just women and men, but women in their 30s so that they could be prepared, so
Fair.
that they could have the tools that, like, for example, like I said, when I had the memory fog that day and I couldn't remember, I realized, oh God, okay, this means my estrogen is bottom at the bottom of the tank. But because I knew what to do, I then went into automatic action and I started to load up like crazy. And I understood what amounts I needed to have in my body, what exactly foods I could put in to do it. And so I then went into the phase where it stopped because I knew what to do. I loaded it's like, and what I tell women is that if you today, if you lose $50 worth of estrogen, you can't put in the tank $2 or $5. You need to put in $50 worth of estrogen. And I say that, in a down home way so you can understand. But there's a formula.
Right. That can be used. So
Certainly.
with your personal experience of I think it's really the extremity of what so obviously you were in
Mhm.
that 700 that number, that 25%.
That 25%. Yeah.
Those 25% of women who have these extreme experiences
Mhm.
with perimenopause and menopause. And the only way of knowing that you're done is when you don't have a menstrual cycle for 12 months. Then you know you are
That's when you know
finished.
you are in menopause. Then you have
Menopause, right?
post menopause. Now, a woman still isn't done because at this point, you are no longer producing this powerful form of estrogen called estradiol, and the body wants need used it. Now, one good thing about the brain issue is that research has shown the memory fog goes away, the brain balances back out. But women then deal with bone issues, and that's why cardiovascular issues. In fact, cardiovascular disease is the highest killer in the Bahamas. Well, before COVID, and then I have my issues about COVID numbers, but the cardiovascular disease, and women are not associating it, as well as dementia and Alzheimer's. What happens is estrogen is responsible for bone growth and maintenance. And when women don't understand that there's some protocols that are non negotiable that you need to now be doing, you need to be putting minerals in your body because your bones need you to step up the game. Your heart needs you to step up your game. And ignorance is honestly what is costing a lot of women, unfortunately, their lives. When, if they understood that your body has gone into another phase and you now need to do maintenance to keep it functioning and to keep you healthy, then they would do it. But again, it's all about education.
Hmm.
It's all about information. And my encouragement to women is that take care of yourself. Self care during menopause is crucial. And unfortunately, during the time of perimenopause and menopause, it's the time when women are dealing with elderly parents who maybe they have to take care of. They're dealing with teenage kids or kids going off to school, dealing with the stress of mortgage. They're dealing with corporate that they're trying to do things in their career. So a lot is going on. So I find that a lot of times what these women are not doing is dealing honestly with themselves and their symptoms. They try to push it to the back burner and they
Because
don't
they're so
even.
used to serving others before themselves. We have
Yes.
we have a question for you. If you have a hysterectomy, how would you know when you go into menopause?
Oh, trust me. That's called you will go into menopause right away. Women who go into early menopause in their 30s, usually it's because of what's called medically induced menopause. They would have had a hysterectomy, a tubal ligation, something went wrong with your ovaries, so they're taking out your ovaries or part of your ovaries, and you instantly go into menopause. And that's
Okay,
when.
wait a minute. So you're saying if you said tubal ligation, that means having your tubes tied. That sends women into menopause.
Oh, yes. I've had so many women listen here. And that is another group of women who have a story to tell. Because what they have consistently been saying to me is that nobody prepared them for it. They
Right.
weren't prepared mentally or emotionally for, and literally, instantly, they go into menopause, severe menopause. Those are women, those are group who go into severe menopause symptoms. And so, yes, a hysterectomy instantly. You won't have to question that.
You will begin to see the changes in your
Yes,
cycle, et
so
cetera, et
the
cetera.
the hot flashes. When I say severe, and we talked about some of the 35 symptoms, um, literally severe difficulty concentrating, headaches, bloating, tinnitus, palpitation, weight gain, hair
Yeah.
loss. A lot of women don't understand that hair loss. That's because you are dealing with the decline in your estrogen. And then another big thing that's very big for women, urinary incontinence, leakages. A lot of women, because of the effect of estrogen on
Hmm.
the bladder becomes weak. Literally, women have leakages. And then there are women who literally just wet up themselves. And so, all of these things, you have women literally walking around wearing diapers
Hmm.
because they can't tell anybody what's going on with them. They have the incontinence, they're dealing with it. And
Hmm.
all of these are real symptoms: anxiety, joint pains, bloating, brittle nails, anxiety, itchy skin. I talked about the fatigue. There's so
Hmm.
many of these symptoms, and I'm trying to go through some of them. Achy muscles, achy muscles. Women don't understand this achy muscles that you're dealing with. It's because directly the estrogen has been all of this time nourishing your muscles and your joints. And so you're having these issues because you have the estrogen that has declined or declining. Women have tender breasts, heavy periods, skin changes. I went through that. The dry skin, I didn't even know what was going on with me. Sometimes it feels like the skin would be pulling. Women deal with panic attacks. All of these are symptoms
Hmm.
directly caused by menopause.
And the thing about the symptoms that you've mentioned is that they can be related to other ailments and diseases as well, and that's why you need to get checked out to
That
know what
that's
it.
that's
Yeah.
it. Because when you know what, when you understand menopause, it alleviates a lot of things, because menopause actually is not a condition that a woman needs to go to a doctor for. But because women do not understand what's going on, because women have not educated themselves, they don't know what to do, then, I mean, the anxiety level, the stress level, the thinking that they're gonna have the heart attacks, the think they don't, because you don't know. And so
Right.
that's why the education is important. And it's a simple formula. When you understand your body does not have something that it's been using all this time, and it has so many functions, it's a game changer when it's not there. You
Hmm.
need to understand what's the formula and how to help yourself. And again, one of the things too for us here on this side of the world, in the Western world, our diet is causing so much of what's going on. Because on the eastern side of the world, our counterparts, our women counterparts, don't deal with what we're dealing with.
Oh, okay.
Statistics show that Chinese women only deal with 10% of the Chinese women deal with hot flashes. In the United States and here in the Western world, 75% of the women deal with hot flashes, 50 and over. In Japan, it's 17%. In Singapore, it's 22%. And
Hmm.
all the research has been pointing to it's the diet. Um, as little girls, from young girls, we have so much problems with our girls having menstruating early, having breasts early, because of what we're eating. We're eating foods that are filled with estrogen and hormone mimickers. And this is a big, big button that causes so much of what women in the Western world, what triggers a lot of the symptoms.
Hmm. So it's a holistic approach in
Yes, it
terms of the
is.
dietary plan, supplements, and all of
Right.
those things to
And
help
this
with
is
the
what I
body.
work along with my clients with. And women are shocked. One lady sent me a text the other day after I put together a protocol for her after not sleeping and dealing with sleeplessness. She said a text about last night. I slept. And she was so excited. It's like, yes, when you understand. And then she went through, she fell off the train. And then she called me and she was telling me. I said, okay, so what did you do different? And then when we started, she's like, oh God, you're right, Patrice, I didn't do this and this. And going back on, she's fine. And that's what I'm trying to teach women. Once you understand the formula, you can work it for your body, for yourself. And my goal is, when I teach women, I want you to then teach the next generation of women, so that no woman in this country should go into menopause anymore unprepared to deal with her changes.
Mhm. So you said you post basically daily tips or information on your Facebook page, social media page about
Yes,
uh,
yes,
what
about
women can do,
menopause. Yes,
menopause, yeah,
yes. But
and
more,
that's on your profile, Patrice Lockhart, as
Patrice
well as in your
Lockhart,
group.
as well as, yes, Patrice Lockhart and Shaddai Health, Shaddai Health. It's
Hmm.
on that page as well. But again, for those of women who need the support. And we have my support group. These are women from all over the Bahamas. There's women from the United States, I mentor, UK, the Caribbean, and Africa, who are who are all going through the menopausal journey. And I've been mentoring them as they've been going through. And my goal is education, education, education. I guide them, I support them, and then I provide tools when they are ready to decide to invest in themselves in this process, instead of sitting down and trying to suffer through it.
Hmm. You talked about a master class that you are preparing
Yes.
for. Okay, let's
Yes,
tell me a little bit more about that.
I am in the midst of preparing master classes for the various symptoms that the women are dealing with, so that women can have a 1 hour class where you, whatever your symptoms are, you can download it, and everything you need to understand about your symptoms, why it is happening, and step by step what you need to do to alleviate that symptom. There's a diet plan that will be in that master class. There are the specific exercises, because movement actually triggers and restructures the brain. There is so much that is connected with exercise and the brain, and what the brain does when we exercise with triggers. So there's what I've done is, and I'm working on, are the protocols for each, because again, every woman does
It's
not want
different.
to come to the coaching, does not want it to be public. So eventually, in short order, it will be public, where you'll see the promotions where you can be able to purchase it, you download it, and you, it's a personal thing, for a personal learning journey for you as a woman.
So you emphasize heavily. Um, oh, another question is Alzheimer's related to menopause?
Most definitely. Most definitely. That is one of the issues for menopausal women, and because of what the brain goes through. The menopause transition is not just a reproduction transition, it's a transition for the brain, because sleeplessness, memory fog, hot flashes, um, all of these things, the mood swings, all of them begins in the brain. And the brain during this time is going through a lot, and it needs assistance. And you help the brain through the protocols that I set for people, through the diet, through the exercise, because it is a difficult time. The brain
Mm-hmm.
simply is not getting what it's been used to. And so it's been having to make adjustments. But and if the estrogen isn't there, it's not there. And that's why you have women. I have women. One lady, she was just saying, she was at home and the house was dark. One husband said to me, he and his wife been together 20 something, nearly 30 years, and they're no longer together. And she's a totally different woman. She's losing weight. She's in there by herself. I mean, I hear these stories of the psychological aspect. And because the women have not prepared, unfortunately, there are crazy um, circumstances or outcomes. But
Right.
again, I'm saying to women listening, I have certified myself as a menopause coach. And I wanted, because I began to ask the questions, why wasn't anybody there to help women? I knew that if somebody was there to help me, the hell that I went through, I wouldn't have gone through. But I
And your
realized
journey was 8 years. That 8 long
that
years.
before I knew, before
Yes.
I took it into my own hands and to help myself. And I decided, you know what? In fact, destiny, God, I realized that the reason why I went through what I went through was because I needed to be here as a menopause coach. And the
Sure.
Lord had said it to me when I'd stopped sleeping. I remember that night, the night before something drastic happened. He had said to me, what's about to happen is necessary. And I went through a very dark part of my menopause. Um, I didn't understand why. Why did it have to happen? Just just when you don't understand. But as women, I remember I sat and I wept when I started mentoring women, and women would share their stories, and I realized, oh God, that's why you needed me to go through. You needed me to be able to understand, because when in the middle of the night a woman texts me, Patrice, I can't sleep, I feel like so I going crazy, and I'm able to help her through. because I was there.
Yeah.
Um, I understand. And I want to say to women, there is help and there is hope. Use me. I am here, and my services are not costly, they're not expensive. And that's why one of the things I'm doing is the masterclass as
Right.
well, so that it's another tool for women to access, and it's very private. But if you're having a hard time, because I deal with women with depression and anxiety, one of the things I'm bringing on, one of the tools I'm bringing on and my team is a therapist, an a clinical psychologist as well, so that
Mhm.
because there are situations where
You have to
women.
refer them.
Yes, because a lot of our women have issues that were not resolved. A lot of our women have issues that where they had mental challenges prior, and unfortunately, the menopause would trigger it and make it worse.
Exacerbated it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a number of my women that I am dealing with are seeing clinical psychologists
Yeah, that's good.
as
That
a
is
part of
that
their
is
healing.
I am an advocate and a proponent of
Oh,
that.
yes, because we
I am.
culturally, you know how
I,
culturally we are
yeah.
about seeing a psychologist, and we got to break that foolishness
Oh
because
yeah.
you
Yeah.
go to a doctor if you got a physical, your hand is broken, your finger's broken, your leg is broken, and there is an emotional part to you as well.
Sure.
And so you need to take care of the emotional body. So if the emotional heart is broken, the emotional eye or the emotional hand needs a doctor, the doctor is the clinical psychologist.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, we recommend that highly. And so, what other things are is coming on stream? I know you talked about the master classes that you're preparing for. What else are you doing to make sure that this message about menopause and preparing women, daughters, fathers,
Yeah.
sons for it with their women and their wives? What other things are you doing or planning to keep the message? Because I think it's a conversation that needs to stay
Yes.
in the social space,
Yes.
so that people can, because every day somebody is transitioning every single
Yeah,
day, literally,
every day,
right?
and are the
So it's a
300, the
conversation.
3,000, yes.
Yeah,
That number
so it's a
3,000 is
conversation that needs to stay
to
out there.
go on.
So
Well, here's
what are some of the other things that you have planned to do?
okay. One of the things I do a lot of speaking engagements. Like next week, I have a group of about 75 women I'm speaking to, and
Mhm.
I speak to groups, organizations, businesses. They bring me
So if
in,
they're
and
in a social club, they can invite you to come and speak to their social or civic club, whatever,
yes, any kind of club, any kind of church group,
women's
organization,
ministry, something.
family groups, any group. I do speaking engagements, and my goal is to, educate. So I am doing a lot of speaking engagements. To groups, like I said, organizations. I'm on air a lot as well. I'm also, like I said, I'm doing the master classes. Um, I do coaching women, utilize my service, and I coach women through their menopausal journey. I have my first coaching session. We go through their symptoms, we go through their diet, we go through all their lifestyle, and we get where they are, and we put together a plan, and then once she is on her plan, we connect in another month. She comes back to see me, and I do everything via Zoom because we're in a COVID environment.
Sure.
Um, 1 month from there, we come back, we go through her plan, her journaling, what's been going on, the improvements she's been seeing. Because one of the things, too, with the menopausal journey is that today, this year or these 2 years, you have these set of symptoms. Another 2 years, it's another set of symptoms. And so we learn to recognize them, and we learn to deal with them, and we learn to nip a lot of things in the bud very early through my coaching women.
Yeah. That's just awesome. Thank you. I think we're wrapping up now. So they know where to find you in the social spaces. Patrice Lockhart, Shut Eye Health. You have that's your business page.
Yeah.
Then you have your Facebook group,
Personal
Menopause. What's it
menopause
called?
survival care.
Menopause Survival Care. That's the Facebook group that you can join by
Mhm.
invitation once you click. Whatever you know how to do it.
Yeah, you
She'll
request to
accept you into
join
the
and I
group.
will let
Right.
you in.
She'll
And then
let you into the group.
my phone contact as well is 439 3242. That number again is
439.
four
One more time.
three nine
Hmm?
3242. And
Three,
I'm
two.
open to speak to groups. Ladies, I'm open to speak to your groups, your church group, your women's group, your civic groups. As a Bahamian, I am here.
Yeah, men's groups,
Oh yeah, yes, and men's. I have a
whatever.
presentation. I'm putting together. Well, I have menopause in the workplace as well. I deal with that because, again, I I know what it is to deal with menopause in the workplace, and there's so many things that can happen. I work along with organizations to help create policies that to help menopausal women, because as simple as sleep issues, women who deal with sleep issues. Instead of having a woman come in 9 o'clock, maybe you can let her come in 11 o'clock and leave later. There's so many
Right.
things. Women deal with incontinence. Um, a lot of times, absenteeism. Employees don't understand why it is. When you're dealing
Right.
with incontinence and you're literally leaking out of control, who are you going to tell? Are you going to tell your boss that?
Hmm.
So a lot of there's so many things that are real that our women are dealing with secretly, that
Right.
support and services are needed even in the work environment. So I work with training managers, human resources personnel, supervisors, those who have people under them as
Yes,
well.
definitely. I think you're doing God's work, Patrice, to be able to
Yes,
be in reach in so many different spaces and to
yeah,
help people.
yeah.
And whatever I can do, of course, to help you to push and to promote, I am here to assist
Thank
with that
you.
because I know for sure that it is something that people are still uncomfortable with
Yes.
on talking about and letting people know. But it's nature; it's a part of the process. If my
That's
pastor used to say, if you live long enough, it's
it.
going to happen. You will
Yeah,
definitely experience it. And so, thank you so much for your time.
yeah.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing to empower women so that they
Yeah,
can be better equipped to help themselves go through the process. I
yes.
thank God that my journey was not as long as
You're
yours.
one of the blessed ones.
Yes, I'm grateful. Thank you, Jesus, because eight
Yeah.
years, oh my gosh. And so I have empathy for those of you who may be transitioning even as we speak and experiencing some of those many symptoms that Patrice would have
Yeah.
mentioned. But reach out to Patrice, connect
Mhm,
with her, and see how she may be able to help you. But more
mhm,
importantly, another sister. I know each of you know at least one other
yes.
woman that is suffering silently when you see her
Yes.
doing this or bursting out into a
Mhm,
sweat or
mhm,
forgetting things, and you know
mhm.
at least one other person
Yes.
that you can give them Patrice's information. And the phone number again is 242-439, because we have some people in the US, 242-439 3242.
3242. Yes. And
That's
for those, I also have for those of you watching, for your audience, I have a free download that I can, if you WhatsApp me, um, it's a free download, what every woman should know about menopause. It's a booklet I wrote,
oh, that's
what
good.
everybody should know about, what every woman should know about menopause.
That's good. So once again, 242-439-3242. WhatsApp her if you want a copy of that book. I'm assuming it is an ebook, What Every
Yes,
Woman Should Know
about
About
menopause.
Menopause. Trees, thank you, thank you, thank
Yes,
you. Be
yes. Thank you
encouraged.
for having me.
May your borders, your territory be enlarged, as
Thank
you
you.
go out and continue to spread this information that's needed in the world, like I said, for men and
And
women,
women,
so they have
yes.
an understanding of what's going on in their households or even with their,
Yes.
they
Mm.
need to understand too. So thank you all for swerving with me tonight. This has been another show where we again talk to people who are not afraid to show their scars
Yeah.
and to speak their truth. And we've seen the sincerity and transparency of Patrice tonight. And that's what
Mhm.
we do on this show, this platform each week. We provide a space for people to share their truth and to be able to help someone else as they go along. So
Yes.
thank you so much for hanging with me tonight. I'll see you guys again next week on Swerve with Me. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.